Getting some shut-eye. Resting. Slumbering. Sawing logs. Getting my beauty sleep. Having a snooze. Taking a nap. Dozing off. Hitting the hay. Getting 40 winks.
Whatever you call it, we all need sleep. It's super important. Today on the Learn Dream Do show, we're learning about how and why we sleep. So settle in and get cozy because we're off to dreamland.
When one side of the earth is awake, the other side of the earth is sleeping. This happens because as the earth spins on its imaginary axis around the sun, you get daylight when your location on earth is facing towards the sun, and nighttime when your location on earth is facing away from the sun and into the darkness of space.
Wow, I love learning about how big the world is. The world is so big that even beds around the world are different. Let's take some time to learn about the different types of beds around the world.
Number 1. This bed is called a futon. Families can fold up the mattress and put it away for storage. Can you guess what country this bed is from? If you guessed Japan, you're right. Futons originated in Japan, but they have spread worldwide. More Western futons can be folded up into a couch. Have you ever slept on a futon? Number 2. This is called a hammock. It is a sling made of fabric, rope, or netting. Do you know where this bed comes from? This is a trick question. Hammocks have been used throughout the world and throughout history. The word hammock has its origin from the Spanish words hamaca. Europeans used hammocks in its sailing ships. Vietnamese cafes use hammocks for a place to nap during lunch. Latino craftspeople are well known for their artisanship in making hand-woven hammocks. In El Salvador, some cities celebrate a traditional hammocks festival where artisans get together to sell their creations. Number 3. This type of bed doesn't really have a name, but can you guess where this type of bed is used? If you guess space, you are correct. Astronauts use various methods to sleep in space. Sometimes they velcro pillows to their heads. In this photo, an astronaut is sleeping vertically in his sleeping bag. Do you think that would be comfortable? Number 4. This bed is called a charpai. It is woven using natural fibers and is great at keeping the sleeper cool. Can you guess what country this bed is from? If you guessed India, Afghanistan, or Pakistan, you're right. Beds like this are also called a cot. That is the origin word for the English word cot. How did you do? Did you guess the correct country of origin? Are you curious to try out some of these beds? Some of these were trick questions because just like a lot of things in this world, there's a lot of overlap between cultures and countries.
One example of a cultural overlap is the fact that the City of Fort Worth Log Cabin Village Museum has their own historical version of the rope bed. This museum is interactive, and you can even lay in the bed to see if you like it. It sure is fun to learn about all the differences around the world, but ultimately, everyone wants a good night's sleep in a comfy bed. Did you have a preference of what bed you thought was most comfy? If so, do you think that preference would change in a different climate or even in zero gravity? I'd love to know what you think, and it's always good to keep an open mind.
Hello everyone! Hola todos! My name is Minerva, or Minerva, and this is your Un Minuto en Español, where you get to learn some new Spanish words in 1 minute. Now you might be wondering, why is she wearing her pajamas and a sleeping mask? Well, that's because I just woke up. We all need to dormir, or sleep. People all over the world have to sleep. Did you know that in some countries like Nigeria, Spain, and Italy, they take siestas? or naps right after lunch. And guess what? When we finally get to sleep at night, you might be having a sueño or dream. Just like the other night, I was having a dream that I was flying, and then I forget what the rest of the dream was. What about you? Do you remember your sueños?
How did the sheep get to sleep? She counted her friends.
Humans aren't the only members of the animal kingdom who sleep. Did you know that the brown bat is one of the sleepiest animals in the whole world? This cute little guy sleeps upside down for almost 20 hours a day.
Bats aren't the only ones with interesting sleeping habits. Sea otters also have some unique challenges when it comes to sleeping in the open ocean because they have to breathe air just like people do. They also need to not get caught in dangerous currents while asleep. To stay in one place, sometimes they'll tangle themselves in sea kelp as a living anchor. If there are other sea otters around, they'll hold hands while they sleep so they don't wash away from each other. Otters need about 11 hours of sleep to stay in tip-top shape. Another sea creature you may have wondered about is the shark. Do sharks sleep? Scientists say yes, but most types of sharks have to move all the time to breathe. They've observed that sharks do have active and resting periods, and a very few types of sharks can stop in place to sleep because they have an organ called a spiracle that helps force the water past their gills even when they're not moving. Scientists don't know very much about shark sleep because it's really hard to tell when a shark isn't awake. They don't have eyelids and their eyes still track prey even while resting. Pretty wild, don't you think? Another animal that doesn't sleep very much is the elephant. Elephants only sleep for 2 hours daily, and even that is broken up into several smaller naps throughout the day. Scientists think it's because elephants always have to be on alert for predators and keep their young ones safe. I don't know about you, but I don't think I could live like an elephant. In contrast to the not very sleepy elephant, bears have whole seasons of the year that they spend mostly asleep. This is called hibernation, and according to research biologist and bear specialist Sean Farley of the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, bears in the northern parts of Alaska hibernate for around 7 months of the year. In the warmer coastal areas, bears hibernate for 2 to 5 months at a time. Is hibernation really sleeping all the time? He says no. It just means that the bear stays in the den, sleeps for most of the time, and doesn't really pass waste during this time either. They hibernate when there's not a lot of food around because as a really big animal, they burn lots of energy when they're awake and moving.
As we've seen, different animals need different amounts of sleep, and they all follow a different daily sleep-wake cycle, which is part of their circadian rhythm. The word circadian comes from the Latin circa, or around, and diem, day, so it means about a day. Animals, humans, and even plants have circadian rhythms, these built-in daily cycles that respond to a living thing's environment. Circadian rhythms are mostly influenced by light and dark, so whether the sun is up or not, though it doesn't always mean that creatures are active during the day and sleeping at night. This phenomenon is also called your biological clock.
Some people have a hard time sleeping, but I can do it with my eyes wide shut. Good night. Can you turn off the lights?
We're learning all about sleep today, but have you ever wondered what happens to your brain when you sleep? We have a guest expert who knows all about brains. Hi, Dr. Popa.
Hi, Christy.
Can you tell us how you came to learn so much about people's brains?
So my name is Dr. Adriana Popa. I am originally from Romania, hence my accent. I have graduated medical school with a medical doctorate degree from Romania, and I moved to the United States a little bit later after that, where I worked in neurology. And in that neurology office for 8 years, I have placed electrodes on patients' heads and recorded their brain waves for about 5,000 patients in total. That together with testing their peripheral nerves and applying small electrical shocks, quite exciting. And eventually I became a science teacher, and I teach middle school science here in Dallas ISD.
And for the tests that you did on patients, can you tell us what those tests were for?
I love to use the term dissect for my students when I teach, so they would never be scared of words. I tell them dissect any word that is fancy, okay? And figure out maybe if there's a root, a suffix, or a prefix that will help you determine the meaning of it. So in this case, if we break down the word, we'll figure out that we know electro, that comes from electricity, encephalo, which comes from the word encephalus, which means brain, and gram, which is a recording of something. So electroencephalogram is nothing else than the recording of the electrical activity of the brain that is here inside the skull, just like my skeleton knows already. Commonly in the neurology office, we run 20-minute studies. So we have the patient with the electrodes on. It's a process to attach those. We have to measure the head. Each electrode falls in a specific spot to record the specific area of the brain. And then the patient would lie down, we would turn the lights off, create an environment of quietness and that's relaxing to encourage the patient to sleep. Because while they're sleeping, there are brain waves that show the baseline electrical activity of the brain. There are different phases of sleep that show us precisely when the patient is asleep and what phase out of the 4 stages of sleep that the patient is in at a certain time.
It seems like our brain waves match when we're falling asleep too. Like we just get slower and quieter and then still.
What's interesting is that before getting into REM, if we look at the wave pattern in stage 3, it's as if we're resisting it, right? It looks like the amplitude is higher, like the waves are taller and wider, and then they, slowly become, like you said, less active, basically.
It's funny you say resisting it, because I feel like sometimes we resist going to sleep. We try to convince ourselves, I'm not sleepy, I can stay awake. And then before we know it, we fall asleep. Do our bodies need to go to sleep?
Absolutely. Our bodies need to sleep. And as a matter of fact, when we sleep, our bodies work. The brain is at work. The brain does a lot of work. But the purpose of sleep is to shut down all the other functions of the body, except for the breathing function. Digestion can happen during sleep, even though that's lower. We still move during sleep. So activities of our body happen during sleep, but it's definitely at a lower pace. And but the brain is at hard work clearing up information that the brain decides is not needed, helping us building on memories. It's well known that many times when we cannot figure out something and we're tired, we just go to sleep, and then the next morning we actually find the solution. Nobody knows for sure why some of these things happen, but it's believed that because through sleep, the brain has the opportunity of shutting down a lot of the stimulation, and is like in the meditation mode with itself to rejuvenate itself.
So our bodies need rest, and that's why we go to sleep. But our brains are still active, and it's still controlling some of those other functions. And I know we still dream when we sleep too. So when you do EEG tests, do you record people's dreams?
Absolutely. I see so many dreams on my EEGs. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, there is no way to record dreams or pictures of the dreams. We do record the brain activity that will show us that the patient is dreaming. So far, we humans have not figured out how to record dreams, but the scientists of tomorrow may be able to do so.
So that's a good call to the kids watching at home. If you want to be a scientist when you grow up like Dr. Popa, you can keep learning and you can build on the tests that we have today. And who knows what you'll invent for the future. Dr. Popa, thank you so much for joining us to teach us about our brains and what happens when we sleep.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Did you know?
Did you know the first time that Z's were used to represent snoring was from this Cats and Jammers kids comic from 1903? It soon became the go-to way to indicate that someone was sleeping. It even led to popular idioms like catching some Z's.
Have you ever heard that noise? Some people call it sawing logs, some people call it mowing hay, some people call it rattling the shingles. Whatever it is, snoring's pretty weird. Have you ever wondered why people snore? Well, it can be a few different things. When you fall asleep, the muscles in your nose, throat, and the roof of your mouth all relax. If you're really tired, they can relax too much, causing them to vibrate, and that comes out as a snore. Some people have an extra long uvula, and that vibrates during the night. What's a uvula? Well, you know that little teardrop-shaped thing in the back of your throat they show moving in cartoons when someone is singing? That's the uvula, and it's right here in your mouth. Ah! Other people have extra soft tissue in the back of their throats or a low soft palate. This means that their airways are just naturally more narrow, so when all those muscles holding the tissues in place relax, they're more likely to snore. Could also be your tonsils. Those are small organs located in your throat. If you're a little kid and you snore a lot, it could be that your tonsils aren't the right size for you. Sometimes people snore because they have a cold and the soft tissues that make up the throat get swollen. Sometimes it's because of allergies or congestion causing draining or sinus pressure. Some people snore when they sleep on their backs because gravity naturally narrows their airways the most in that position. Sleeping on your side can sometimes help with that. Whatever the cause, snoring is basically the sound of your airway narrowing and vibrating. As long as you're still breathing regularly and sleeping well, this is not a big deal, but always ask your doctor if you have questions.
Oh, goodness me, that was a big yawn. But why do we yawn? Maybe I should get some sleep and the answer will come to me. It used to be thought that a yawn was a way to get more oxygen into the body while removing more carbon dioxide. However, newer scientific studies think there might be a different reason for yawns. Yawns might be the body's way of cooling our brains. Our brains are like computers, and just like computers, our brains need to be cool in order to function properly. By yawning, you're bringing cooler air in contact with blood vessels that feed into the brain and help to cool it down.
Where am I? I must be in a dream. Have you ever had a dream or a nightmare? Don't worry, I like to think of dreams as a movie in my sleep. Let's learn about some fun trivia about dreams and nightmares.
Number 1. The average person spends 6 years of their lives dreaming. Wow, that's a lot of dreams. Number 2. We don't all dream in color. Around 12% of people dream in black and white. I wonder what you dream in. Number 3. Low stress means happy dreams. You are more likely to have pleasant dreams if you're experiencing a satisfied life. Number 4. Animals can dream too. Everyone dreams, including pets. I wonder what my dogs dream about. Number 5. You can train yourself to control your dreams. Lucid dreaming is when you're conscious during a dream. Have you ever done it? Number 6. Night owls have more nightmares. Academic sleep research has revealed that night owls are more likely than their early bird counterparts to experience nightmares. Number 7. You are paralyzed while dreaming. REM sleep is characterized by a paralysis of the voluntary muscles. This phenomenon is known as REM atonia. This prevents you from acting out your dreams while you're asleep. Basically, because motor neurons are not stimulated, your body does not move. Number 8. Most dreams are forgotten. As much as 95% of all dreams are quickly forgotten shortly after waking. That's because the changes in the brain that occur during sleep do not support the storage of memories. Aw man, I hate it when I forget my dreams.
Do you have more dreams or more nightmares? If you don't know, maybe keeping a dream journal is a good strategy in finding out. I wonder what dreams I have.
Are you having trouble falling asleep? No problem. Just follow these steps if you need a good night's rest. First, set a time to go to bed each night. Second, turn off all your electronics. Then read a good book and turn off or dim all of your lights. Last, turn on some relaxing music or sound effects like flowing water. Follow these tips and you'll be sleeping like a baby in no time.
Hey, sleepyhead, wake up. I got a joke for you. All I want to do is sleep and lick myself. What's the joke? Okay. Where do cows sleep? Huh? Where do cows sleep? I don't know. Where? On the couch. Get it? On the couch.
We hope you've learned a little something about sleep. To learn more about the nighttime, check out this book, In the Dark, The Science of What Happens at Night, by Lisa Durst-Bettick and Josh Hollanady. They go into depth about what happens inside and outside of us while we sleep. Sometimes going to sleep can feel like we're missing out on fun stuff, but you wouldn't want to live without sleep. And this book with that title, written by Jim Pipe, tells you why. This book is full of fun facts and cartoons. Sometimes we want to get to sleep and can't. Reading can be a great way to relax and get ready for bed. Try 5-Minute Really True Stories for Bedtime by Jackie McCann, which pairs beautiful illustrations with short fact-filled stories, exploring bedtimes from King Tut to the deep sea to the space station. If that's too exciting for bedtime, try 1 Minute Till Bedtime, 60-second poems to send you off to sleep, selected by Ken Nesbitt. This collection of short poems features the work of great writers, including John Sheshka, Nikki Grimes, and Lemony Snicket. If there's a monster under your bed keeping you awake, you may want to check out Pedro's Monster by Fran Minushkin or Junie B. Jones Has a Monster Under Her Bed by Barbara Park. Both Pedro and Junie are too scared to sleep, but with some help, they learn to conquer their fears. What would happen if your dreams became real? That's what happens to Sophie in The Girl Who Could Not Dream by Sarah Beth Durst, a great pick for middle grade readers. This book combines adventure, humor, a pinch of scary, and a furry monster named Monster for a tale of dreams literally coming true. Older readers may wish that they could sleep for 100 years. You may be familiar with a certain legendary girl who got to do just that. Sleeping Beauty, the one who took the really long nap, is part of Wendy Mass's Twice Upon a Time series, which retells fairy tales. If you are looking for a funny new twist on an old story, this one's for you. Check out these books and many more at your local branch of the Fort Worth Public Library.
Personally, I'm ready to do some more hands-on research. Nighty-night.